Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from DBF 5A boys. We'll introduce our law presentation, which is legal aspect and corporate governance. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Imran Ola bin Muhammad Fadilah.
My name is Naim Asnawi bin Muhammad Nasri from DBF 5A.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Ahmad Zulkarnain bin Abdul Razak and I'm from DBF 5A.
So, for the first question, that relation to corporate governance is why sound corporate governance practice are needed and their importance to Islamic financial institution. The point is, the first one is importance of sound corporate governance to Islamic financial is because it guarantees that Islamic financial institution follow Sharia rules in their entire operation and that they fulfill their responsibility in reporting earnings in the best interest of shareholders. The major goal of this essay to analyze the many aspects of corporate governance and to provide framework that considers corporate governance from a Sharia viewpoint. The descriptive and analytical methodologies were used in this study. The study demonstrates that the Islamic economic system corporate governance model leans toward being stakeholder-centric as Islamic governance structure protects all stakeholders and shareholders' rights and interests. For the growth and a strong, healthy Islamic finance industry, strong corporate and bank governance is required. Islamic corporate governance is now a new concept. There are three key themes, which is accountability, openness, and trustworthiness, are emphasized in the Islamic approach of corporate governance. Now, for the next relation to corporate governance, there are 14 principles of corporate governance minimum standard and specific requirement for Islamic bank and takaful operators. The first one is Principle 1. Every Islamic bank should be headed by an effective board which assumes specific responsibility. The vision, strategy, and corporate values of the Islamic bank should be clearly specified and understood. The boards play a critical role in ensuring sound and prudent policies and practice of its Islamic. The boards need to perform its oversight role effectively and understand its overall responsibility to stakeholders. While the board is not involved in the day-to-day operation of the institution, it provides effective check and balance mechanism in the overall management of the Islamic bank. The next principle is Principle 2. There should be an effective board composition with a strong independent element where not an individual or small group of individuals should be allowed dominate the board's composition. The number of directors constituting a board is an important factor in determining the effectiveness of the board in providing direction and guidance to the management of the Islamic bank and in performing its oversight role effectively. To be effective, the board of an Islamic bank must have an appropriate number of directors that commensurate with the complexity, the size, the scope, and the operation of the Islamic bank. The board should comprise of directors who as a group provide a mixture of core competence such as finance, accounting, legal business, management, information, technology, and investment management. The third principle is there should be a clear division of responsibility at the helm of an Islamic bank which will ensure a balance and a clear line of role, responsibility, authority, and accountability through the Islamic Bank. There should be a clear division of responsibility at the helm of an Islamic bank to ensure a balance of power and authority such that no one individual or group of individual dominates the decision-making process. Next is Principle 4. There should be a formal and transparent process for the appointment of directors to the board and the appointments of chief executive officer. The appointment of directors and CEO of an Islamic bank requires prior written consent of Bank Negara Malaysia. Next one is Principle 5. Directors must be persons of caliber, credibility, and integrity with the necessary skills and experience and be able to devote time and commitment. Directors provide leadership on matters of strategic importance to the future director of an Islamic bank. They are also expected to bring sound judgment to bear on difficult issues. As the expectation on directors are high, they must be competent, experienced and knowledgeable, and have sound judgment to exercise their responsibility that include being able to question and provide advice to management. The next one is the Principle 6. Board shall meet regularly and be duly furnished with complete and timely information. In order to form a quorum, in respect of a board meeting, there shall be a 3 minimum attendance or 50% of total board members, whichever is higher. The next one is Principle 7. There should be a formal and an ongoing assessment of the effectiveness of the board as a whole, the director and the chief executive officer board performance. There should be a procedure for a regular assessment of the board as a whole, as well as the performance of each individual director and the CEO to ensure their effectiveness. The next one is Principle 8. In Principle 8, there should be a formal and transparent procedure for fixing the remuneration packages of board members, chief executive officer, and senior management, and the remuneration policies and practice should be in line with the Islamic bank ethical values, objectives, and culture. The policy on the remuneration of directors, CEO, and the senior management should be developed under conditions of objectivity and transparency. The level of remuneration should be sufficient to attract and retain directors of caliber, but at the same time should be balanced against the need to ensure the Islamic bank funds are not used to subsidize excessive remuneration packages and not compromising the ongoing viability, solvency, and reputation of the Islamic Bank. For the Principle 9, person in power with decision-making authority, including directors, should exercise care to avoid situations that may give to a conflict of interest situation. 290. The directors, officers, and employees of an Islamic bank must conduct their business with the highest level of ethical value. Conflict of an interest situation call into question the ability of the person involved in the conflict to act objectively in the best interest of the Islamic bank. Next is Principle 10. There should be a clear separation between shareholders and management so as not to impede and sound corporate governance. 2.96 Shareholders should not be involved in the ruining of an Islamic bank. They should hold the board accountable in overseeing the management of the Islamic bank and rely on management to run day-to-day operation of the institution. There should be a clear separation between the controlling, shareholder and the management function, such that these shareholders should not hold any senior management position in the Islamic bank. The next one is Principle 11. There should be a robust auditing requirement and the auditor, board, and the management to need to be maintained professional and objective relationship. The role of independent, competent and qualified auditors is vital to the corporate governance process. This includes identifying problems with the Islamic bank risk management and internal control system and ensuring that the Islamic bank financial statement fairly represent the financial position and performance of the Islamic bank in all material aspects. For the Principle 12, Islamic bank should engage in regular, effective and fair communication with shareholder and stakeholder. The board must maintain an effective communication policy that enables both the board and the management to communicate effectively with each shareholder, the stakeholder and the public either through disclosure or AGM. For the second last principle, Principle 13. Conducting corporate governance in a transparent manner can reinforce sound corporate governance. Comprehensive disclosure requirement to facilitate market discipline and sound corporate governance. Appropriate disclosure is required so that shareholders and other stakeholders and market participants can effectively have an understanding of the financial and management policy of the Islamic bank, particularly in relation to its safety and soundness. The last Principle 14. Board is collectively responsible and accountable for the veracity of disclosure and management of risk. The board is responsible for ensuring that an Islamic bank has system in place to monitor and adequately control the Islamic bank material risk and whether there is adequate and effective operational procedure, internal control and system in place for assessing, measuring, controlling, monitoring and reporting of risk. It is strongly encouraged that a brief statement of board of responsibility is provided in the annual report.
Assalamualaikum everyone. Today I'll be presenting about the background of Islamic Financial Services Board, or known as IFSB. The Islamic Financial Services Board, headquartered in Kuala Lumpur, was established on November 3, 2002 and began operation on March 10, 2003. It is an international standard setting group full of regulatory and supervisory agencies with a role in the soundness and stability of the Islamic financial services industry, which is generally defined to cover banking, capital markets, and also insurance. In order to achieve this goal, the Islamic Financial Services Board encouraged the growth of a wise and transparent Islamic financial services industry by establishing new or adapting current international standards that are Sharia compliant and recommending their adoption. The International Financial Services Board supports that of the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision, the International Organization of Securities Commission, and the International Association of Insurance Supervisors in this regard. The Islamic Financial Services Board have 187 members, include acting on regulatory and supervisory bodies, 10 international intergovernmental organizations, and 96 market participants. For example, financial institutions, professional companies, industry associations, and stock exchanges operating in 57 jurisdictions as of June 2021. The Islamic Financial Services Board, home country, has enacted the Islamic Financial Services Board Act 2002, which grants the IFSB the same privileges and immunities as other international organizations and diplomatic missions. Thank you very much.
Now I would like to present to you the objectives and the adoptions of Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institution, AAI-OFI, for Islamic banks and takaful operators. Now, for the AAI-OFI, within the Islamic Sharia principles and rules has the following objectives. The first is to advance accounting, governance, auditing, and ethical thought in relation to the activities of Islamic financial institution, while taking into account worldwide standards and practices that are compliant with Islamic Sharia regulations. Second, accounting, auditing, governance, and ethical ideas are relevant to the activities of Islamic financial institution, as their implementation should be extensively disseminated. For example, training seminars, periodic newsletter publication, report creation, research, and other methods. Third, through the development and distribution of accounting standards and interpretations to Islamic financial institutions, standardize the accounting policies and procedures used by those organizations, improve the quality and consistency of auditing and governance processes linked to the Islamic financial institution by developing and issuing auditing and governance standards, as well as providing interpretation through the institution. Then, by preparing and issuing codes of ethics for Islamic financial institutions, they promote excellent ethical behaviors related to this organization. Now the fourth one is to achieve similarity or conformity. It is because, to the extent possible, in concepts and applications among the Sharia supervisory boards of Islamic financial institutions, in order to avoid contradictions and inconsistency between the fatwas and the application by this institution, with a view to activate the role of the Sharia supervisory boards of Islamic financial institution and central banks through the preparation, issuance, and interpretations of Sharia standards, and Sharia rules for the investment, fiduciary, and other financial instruments. Let's continue to the fifth. In order to execute the requirements as well as the statements and directions released by the AAI-OFI, contact the relevant regulatory organizations, Islamic financial institutions, other financial institutions that offer Islamic financial services, and accounting and also auditing firms. The sixth is to provide educational and training programs such as professional development programs in accounting, auditing, ethics, governance, Sharia, and other related areas. In order to enhance knowledge of Islamic banking and finance and to encourage better professionalism, AAI-OFI will conduct training, examination, and certification on its own or in collaboration with other organizations. 7. Further initiatives such as certification of compliance with the AAI-OFI standards will be carried out in order to raise awareness and acceptance of AAI-OFI accounting, auditing, ethics, governance, and Sharia standards. AAI-OFI achieved this goal in line with Islamic Sharia, which is a comprehensive framework for all parts of life and in accordance with the context in which Islamic financial institutions have grown. This activity aims to increase the confidence of users of Islamic financial institutions' financial statements in the information generated about them, as well as to encourage them to invest or deposit their funds in Islamic financial institutions and use their services. Many countries and jurisdictions around the world have adopted AAI-OFI Sharia standards as mandatory regulatory requirements, including Bahrain, Jordan, the Kyrgyz Republic, Mauritius, Nigeria, Qatar, and the Qatar International Financial Center, QIFC, Oman, Pakistan, Sudan, Syria, the United Arab Emirates UAE, and Yemen. AAI-OFI Sharia standards are followed by a number of Sharia Islamic finance, Sharia consultancy, educational and training institutions, as well as non-banking financial companies. Legal bases for national standards have been formed in countries such as Kazakhstan based on AAI-OFI Sharia norms and have been recommended as guidelines in jurisdictions such as Kuwait. AAI-OFI Sharia standards are followed by many Sharia consultancies, auditing firms also, takaful and insurance company, non-banking finance companies, capital market institutions, educational and training institutions, Sharia scholars, and professionals around the world, in addition to the regulatory institution.